So with that introduction, I'd like to now introduce you to Barinder Rasode, who's been involved in a lot of efforts around addressing violence against women in Surrey. And Surrey is held up as one of the cities that's done quite a bit on this front. She and Mayor Watts have been out in the forefront and very visible on these issues. And so it's a pleasure to have Barinder here today to speak about their efforts. Thanks, Barinder.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. It's a real honor for me to be speaking here at the Women Transforming Cities Conference. I'm going to share with you our story today of where we started and where we are and where we'd like to go. I'm going to paint a little bit of a picture of our community for you. We are a city of close to 500,000 people. We are one of the largest cities by landmass in the country. We have more children than any city in the country. And the number of seniors in our community will be going up by 179% in the next 10 years. So as we look at those challenges and address things that make a healthy, vibrant community, and as we are designing a community to make sure that every one of our individuals are not only afforded all of the things that we are required in terms of housing, logistics, roads, transportation, but what does it mean to have a person safe in their community? I was elected in 2008, and I was the first visible minority woman elected to council. Our mayor and a majority of our council is women, so I think the heart and the type of soul that we put into initiatives is really showing very good outcomes. We believe when you educate and keep one woman safe, you're actually educating and keeping generations of women safe and creating healthy families. So in 2008, when I was elected, one of the first things we did under our crime reduction strategy, which takes a very holistic approach at looking at crimes and making sure that we're making the proper investments in deterring and preventing, and a holistic approach to saving dollars and lives and keeping people whole later on. Recognizing that for many, many years, many fabulous organizations have given so much commitment in the area of eliminating domestic abuse. Domestic abuse for us includes both emotional, financial, and physical components. So what we decided to do is become, as a municipal government, play a role in facilitating dialogue amongst service providers on the work that they were doing, to not only identify what was available, but to identify maybe some silos that existed and maybe some gaps that existed. That coalition came together with over 70 agencies. The 70 agencies then broke into a committee. They decided to do an annual conference only for service providers and formed the Surrey Coalition Against Domestic Abuse. So this year will be our 4th conference. It's an opportunity for them not only to share best practices, but also in terms of how they move forward. Surrey also has the largest RCMP detachment in the country, and we also have a specific domestic violence unit under our municipal role with the RCMP. That unit not only provides law enforcement, security, but also does the information gathering, participates 100% on our coalition against domestic abuse as partners. And I think it's a very valuable unit in terms of providing for those who are in the position where they are calling the police and have very violent incidences take place. By far, the number one incidences in our courthouses are still cases of domestic abuse. The third thing we did around awareness, because as we all know, domestic abuse crosses all boundaries. Ethno-specific, socio-economic, doesn't matter, it exists everywhere. But one of the things that's really important, that we have a community of close to 35% South Asians. We had, unfortunately, very tragic cases in the last few years of murders of South Asian women. And one of the things that's really important to me also is the whole concept of integration, about focusing on what is similar for all of our communities and working to build on that while we maintain our own heritage and respect where we came from. So Rakhi is an annual event each year where sisters and brothers honor the relationship of love and respect, because stereotypes started to come about how maybe the South Asian community didn't value women as much as other communities. The tragic truth is, the inequities that exist exist everywhere. So we highlighted that by saying we made a purple bracelet, a Rocky, that a sister ties on her brother, and any brother who has a purple band tied on his wrist says, I stand with my sisters against domestic abuse. We also partnered with the BC Lions, who have taken on the whole Don't Be a Bystander campaign, because one of the things that we've recognized as we've moved through these three main pillars of our work is that really it's about the men. So we had a gentleman who works with diversity come to me and said, listen, you know, women have been fighting this battle for a long time, and we need to bring more men to the table. And in thinking about that, at our conference last year, Anita Roberts, who runs the Safe Teen program and who has written a couple of books, was one of our speakers. We've implemented her program into the school system at this point at a grade 11 level, where what she talks about, and I encourage all of you to go to her website, and there are many other programs like hers is just the one I'm familiar with, where she talks. The story that resonates with me most is you have a young woman, she's wearing a short skirt, she's out with her friend, she's had a lot to drink. She walks into a room, she starts to get on the table, and she starts dancing and stripping off her clothes. She's in a room full of good men. Guess what happens? They pull her off the table, they pull down her shirt, they go find her friends, and they find her a glass of water. That same girl walks into a room full of bad men. What makes those two outcomes different? And so the message about how having an empowering voice, being a powerful girl, being able to assert yourself is one that we send very mixed messages to young girls about. So the Safe Teen program goes in, talks about body image, talks about relationships between men and women, talks about relationships between friends, talks about the whole use of social media in a very positive way, because we have to keep up with the times. We can't discourage young people from using it, because they're going to be using it. It's just how do you do that in a respectful way. So after doing an assessment of the program and how well it's worked in the high schools, we're actually implementing it through Parks and Rec, through summer programs for girls and boys. They do very separate programs. They have a whole session with men on how to be good men, and a whole session on women on how to empower yourself and your inner voice. But we're actually going to work with the school board to bring that into the grade 6 classrooms. Because we're finding by the time we're getting in the classrooms at grade 11, unfortunately, it's already too late. So I've led into where we're going from where we started, because there's still lots to do. Jazz Chima, who used to be chair of our Surrey Public Libraries, and Patty Petrella, who's here from our Seniors Advisory Committee. Libraries are a very safe place for women. Doesn't matter where you come from, that is the one quote-unquote allowable place you can go. You can go with your children to a library. So we're going to be working with the nursing school at Kwantlen Polytechnic University to have nursing students go into the library and be available in a quiet way, not in a publicized way, certain days of the week where they can chat with women, provide resources, and provide support to women who may need it. One of the challenges I have as a feminist woman, and one that as we've moved through this process, is we always want to remove the woman from the situation. We want her to want to leave. Unfortunately, that is not the case. Many women, for many of their own reasons, which we have to treat with a non-judgmental eye and respect, choose to stay. Especially women who come from a very extended family type of model in their homes. And you know what? That's okay. To provide help to those women, we need to make sure that we're providing them the resources that their partner and them may need in terms of counseling, anger management, drug and alcohol treatment, treatment around mental illness, significant issues both with substance abuse and mental illness with people who deal with domestic abuse in their home. So what's a safe way to do that? So we're partnering with, you're all gonna think it's kind of weird because I did, but Crime Stoppers. Crime Stoppers is actually not a police agency. When a child or a woman calls Crime Stopper, the police aren't going to run to your house with the sirens blaring, and your neighbors aren't going to all know. They're not going to pull the spouse out of the home and, you know, upset the extended family unit. But what they can quietly do is refer you to places where you can get help, because that is a part of the reality that we're dealing with. So as we move forward, those are the Next set of our components, the partnership with the library, more information and education for young women and young men through our school system, hoping one day it would be part of a curriculum in the province of BC to have these kind of dialogues. And then is the partnership with Crime Stoppers. And really this year's conference also is going to focus on the abuser. What makes an abuser? People don't just wake up one day and decide they're going to hit their child or their spouse. It's a learning of a cycle that they've probably gone through in their life. It's the social stereotypes throughout the media and what learned behaviors and an inability to control emotions at a certain level. So as we move forward, the focus on the abuser is going to be a very significant one, because until we deal with the root causes of that, we're not going to change very much. And my message to all women is, as we help those, we help them with the lens that fits that woman and not impose our own very strong ideals on them, because I do hear this when we go into programs at the Surrey Women's Centre or with the refugee programs, is they say, you don't understand my world. And it's okay for you to say that I need to walk out and never look back, but I can't do that. And as much as unfortunately sometimes that ends in tragic situations, we do have to respect what they've asked of us. And so we're going to do some more work in terms of formulating that. And the other issue is that, you know, I think bullying is a great example. Bullying, as people know, occurred since the beginning of time in workplaces and school playgrounds and homes and everywhere, and it used to sort of be a problem nobody discussed. And unfortunately, domestic abuse is still something that the majority of society thinks is a private situation that should be dealt with behind closed doors in somebody's bedroom, and it's not. And so the more we do what you're doing through Women Transforming Cities, the local cafes, the more women's groups are, you know, highlighting the work that they've been doing for years and years, and partnering with like football leagues and boards of trades and all of those things. Let's just keep this dialogue alive in a very vigilant way, because fundamentally, the one place you should feel safest in the whole world is your home. And until we have women who live in fear in their own home, we are failing women. So thank you very much for your participation, and I'm just very proud to be able to serve women and the community of Surrey. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.